everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be playing Phase 10 Chooses My TBR. So if you're new to my channel, Phase 10 is a card game that I have created a TBR game around. I will link the playlist below if you'd like more info on how it's played. Before I dive into the game, I'm actually going to be attempting to take part in 4 different readathons in the month of September. I will be doing Bookathon, which is hosted by Becca from Becca and the Books, and is based on her TBR game Bookopoly. I will be doing the Magical Readathon, hosted by G from Book Roast. I will be doing Series September, which is hosted by Krista from Books and Jams and Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. And I will be doing Fall Into Reading, which actually runs September, October, and November, and is hosted by Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, Tia from Tia and All the Books, Rainy from Rainy Day Reads, and Angie from Literary Labors. I will link all the info about those readathons in the description below. I will have separate TBRs for Bookathon, the Magical Readathon, and Series September. As for Fall Into Reading, there are 2 different boards. One has, I think, 15 prompts, and then the bigger board has 24. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just read what I want in September and October and see which prompts I can mark off the board. And then if I have any left in November, I'll create a TBR in November to fill out the rest of the board. But given that I'm doing so many readathons and I already have my own TBR game, it just seemed to make sense to let that one kind of fill in on its own since I have 3 months to complete it, rather than making a special TBR and trying to cram all of the books into my September TBR. I'm also planning on continuing with Buzzwordathon and with Middle Grade Monthly, and I'm going to try to get those books on my TBR if I can. If not, I will talk to you about them after I get through my TBR. I think that's everything I needed to mention, so let's get into the game. So as you can see, the board is set up for this month. I'm still looking for 10 or 11 to complete my phase. I have my deck here, my die here, should I need it, which, let's be real, I've been really lucky on Wild, but the further we get through the deck, the more odds are that I'm going to be drawing a Wild. So I'm expecting to have to use it this month, and my prompts are here. All of my previous cards that I've used are here. On the bright side, if I get a 10 or 11, I'll be able to skip a prompt. It'll also complete my phase, which means I would get to skip or swap out a book mid-month for a prompt. So here's hoping I get a 10 or 11 to at least offset the potential Wilds. Let's get started. Draw number 1 is a red 7. And the prompt for red 7 is red cover. So for draw number 1, I got red cover, and for this, I'll be reading Riders of the Realm Through the Untamed Sky by Jennifer Lynn Alvarez. As you can see, that cover is basically all red, so it fits the prompt perfectly. This is the second book in the Riders of the Realm series. This series is dual perspective, and we're following a boy named Rocky who lives in a society where they ride tamed Pegasus, and he ends up meeting Echo Song, who is a wild Pegasus, and his people didn't believe there were wild Pegasus anymore. And we also get Echo Song's point of view, and we get to see why she and her herd have traveled from their land to Rocky's land, and they weren't expecting to meet Rocky and his people either, and we kind of get to see their journeys as they discover each other and go from there. I really enjoyed the first book, and I am excited to be diving back into this series. Draw number 2 is a green 4. And the prompt for green 4 is fantasy. Draw number 2 saw me get fantasy, and for this I'm going to be reading The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, so I wanted to read it the moment I got it, and when fantasy came up, there was no doubt what I was going to be putting on my TBR for this. It says, Zar is a wizard boy who has no magic and will do anything to get it. Wish is a warrior girl, but she owns something forbidden, something magical, and she will do anything to conceal it. When stars collide, Zar and Wish must forget their differences if they are ever going to make it to the hidden dungeons at Warrior Fort, where something that has been sleeping for hundreds of years is stirring. So yeah, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting fantasy, and like I said, I've heard a lot of really good things about it, so I'm looking forward to finally checking out this series. Draw 3 is a blue 6. And the prompt for blue 6 is has a map. Draw number 3 saw me get has a map, and for this I'm going to be reading Goldilocks Wanted Dead or Alive by Chris Colfer. This is a graphic novel from his Land of Stories series, and there is my map. It was actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to find a book with a map inside. I mean, I could have used literally any Warriors book I wanted to, but I thought I'd get a bit creative and see if I had anything on my shelves besides Warriors that had a map in it, and luckily this one did. I am really curious to see how this story plays out and to get to see more of Goldilocks' story, as she's kind of a bit of a side character in the Land of Stories series, so it'll be interesting to see more about her life and what she got up to in the world of Land of Stories. Draw 4 is a green 1. And the prompt for green 1 is has 5 or more words in the title. Draw number 4 saw me get 5 or more words in the title, and for this, I'm going to be reading Miss Ellicott's School for the Magically Minded. This says, at Miss Ellicott's School for Magical Maidens, girls train to become sorceresses by learning about spells, potion, wards, summonings, and most important, deportment. The city's people need sorceresses to protect them, but the magical maidens are taught to behave themselves so they don't frighten anyone. Chantal would much rather focus on her magic than on curtsying, and sometimes she just can't help but give people a look. Her attitude often gets her in trouble, especially with the headmistress, the terrifying Miss Ellicott. Then Miss Ellicott mysteriously vanishes along with all the other sorceresses in the city. Without any magic protecting the city, the fearsome marauders threaten the lives of everyone that Chantal cares about. And even though Chantal and her friends were once banned from practicing battle spells, it's now up to them to save the kingdom. As they embark on this dangerous journey, Chantal must cope with a crossbow-wielding boy, a dragon, and the patriarchs who want to control the new fiery magic that burns inside her. But can she find the sorceresses and transform Lightning Pass into the city it was meant to be? So this sounds like another interesting middle grade fantasy, and when I was looking at my shelves, this one jumped out at me as having more than 5 words easily. I was surprised by how few books I had on my shelves that had more than 5 words. I thought I had more than that, but I'm looking forward to checking this book out and seeing what Chantal gets up to and how she gets out of the sticky situation it sounds like she's going to find herself in. Draw 5 is a green 5. And the prompt for green 5 is historical fiction. Draw number 5 saw me get historical fiction, and for this I'm going to be reading The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meisner. It says, April 18th, 1906, a massive earthquake rocks San Francisco just before daybreak, igniting a devouring inferno. Lives are lost and lives are shattered, but some rise from the ashes, forever changed. So I don't know much more about that, but it sounds like it's going to be centered around a earthquake that took place in San Francisco, and Susan Meisner is also the author of As Bright as Heaven, and I've heard a lot of really good things about that book, even though I haven't read it, so I'm hoping this book will be really good as well. Draw 6 is a wild. I knew this was coming. It had to be. We'll get to that in a little bit. Draw 6 Part 2 is a red 5. And the prompt for red 5 is Booktuber Fave. Prompt number 6 saw me get Booktuber Fave, and for this I will be reading Soulbinder by Sebastian de Castell. The Spellslinger series is one of Jade from J.D. Ray Reid's favorite series, so this definitely counts as one of her favorites. This is the 4th book in the Spellslinger series, and I've really enjoyed the first 3. In the first book, we're following Kellen, who is on the verge of turning, I think, 16. And if you hit 16 and you don't have magic, you never will, and that kind of makes you a lesser being in his race. you kind of become a servant to all of the people in his race that have magic. And Kellen has never demonstrated any real magic, so he is trying to find a way to kind of trick everybody into thinking he has magic that he doesn't. And then he meets a woman named Ferris Parafax who kind of turns his world upside down. I've really enjoyed this series, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with Kellen's adventures. Draw 7 is a green 9. And the prompt for green 9 is blue on the cover. Draw number 7 saw me get blue on the cover, and for this I'm going to be reading Alessia and Atlantis, The Forbidden Vial by Natalie Lane. So I am trying to make an effort to remember that I do have books on Kindle Unlimited and ebooks that I own that I'd like to read, and this is one of the ones I have on Kindle Unlimited. I believe we're following Alessia, who is going to school in Atlantis, and I'm going to assume something happens with a forbidden vial. Other than that, I don't remember much of the description, but it's got a very blue cover, and I remember being excited about it when I read the description, or I wouldn't have downloaded it via Kindle Unlimited in the first place, so it seems as good a time as any to read it. Draw number 8 is a green 3. And the prompt for green 3 is nonfiction. Draw 8 saw me get nonfiction, and for this I'm going to be reading All Standing, the remarkable story of the Jeannie Johnston, the legendary Irish famine ship by Catherine Miles. And this is a nonfiction about that ship. It says, more than 1 million immigrants fled the Irish famine for North America, and more than 100,000 of them perished aboard the coffin ships that crossed the Atlantic, but one small ship never lost a passenger. So, I'm going to assume the Jeannie Johnston is the one that didn't lose a passenger, and I am looking forward to finding out why her story turned out so differently to all the other ships that set sail. Draw 9 is a green 7. And the prompt for green 7 is newest purchase. Draw 9 saw me get newest purchase, and as of the time of filming this video, the last book I purchased was The Edge of the Ocean by L.D. Lipinski. It's technically a pre-order, but it comes out before September, and so I am counting it as the last book I purchased, since I will have access to it before the month of September ends, so I should have no problem reading it in September. This is the second book in the Strange World Travel Agency series. In the first book, we're following Flick, who has moved to a new town and ends up coming across a weird shop where suitcases can lead you into other worlds. I really enjoyed the first book, and I am so glad that I get to continue on with the series this month. And draw number 10 is a red 2. The prompt for red 2 is pretty cover. Draw number 10 saw me get pretty cover, and for this I'm going to be reading The Elephant in the Room by Holly Goldberg Sloan. So I think this cover is absolutely stunning. I think the colors are just gorgeous, along with the silhouette of the elephant and the young girl. It says, it's been almost a year since Scylla's mother traveled halfway around the world to Turkey, hoping to secure the immigration paperwork that would allow her to return to her family in the U.S. The long separation is almost impossible for Scylla to withstand, but things change when she accompanies her father, who is a mechanic, to fix a truck outside their Oregon town. There, behind an enormous stone wall, Scylla meets a grandfatherly man who, only months before, won the lottery. Their new alliance leads to the rescue of a circus elephant named Vita, and then to a friendship with an unusual boy named Matteo, proving that comfort and hope come in the most unlikely of places. A moving story of family separation and the importance of the connection between animals and humans, this novel has the enormous heart and uplifting humor that readers have come to expect from the beloved author of Counting by Sevens. So that sounds quite interesting, and since pretty cover is pretty much open to interpretation, that gave me a lot of leeway, because all that matters is that I think it's a pretty cover, and for me, this cover is pretty stunning. And now to roll my die to find out how many extra prompts I'm going to have to read for that wild. 1. Whew. As long as this one isn't a wild, I'll be making out really good this month. Wild draw number 1 is a green 7. So 11 prompts in total this month. I can do that. And the prompt that has not been up on the board for very long that I will be doing is green on the cover. As you saw, I got a wild and I got really lucky, and it only made me do 1 prompt. So the prompt I ended up getting for my one and only draw for the wild was green on the cover. And for this, I'm going to read A Quiet Life in the Country by T.E. Kinsey. So this is another series I found on Kindle Unlimited, and my mom literally sat down and within the space of like a week or so tore through the entire series and has been needling me ever since to try it out myself because she thought it was really good. And I tend to enjoy cozy mysteries more than she does, so she thinks I'm going to absolutely love it. So when I got green on the cover, I again checked my Kindle like I did for blue on the cover, and I saw this one had lots of green, so it seemed like a no-brainer. I don't really know anything else about it other than that my mom enjoyed it and it's got green on the cover and it's a cozy mystery. So I will be checking this one out in the month of September. So I was not able to get my Buzzword-a-thon or middle grade monthly picks on my TBR. The Buzzword-a-thon is hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala. The info for all of that will be linked in the description below. The word of the month is dark, and for this I'm going to be reading The Deep and Dark Blue by Nikki Smith. This is a graphic novel. It was the first book I laid eyes on that had the word dark in it, and so that is why it's going on my TBR. I literally know nothing else about it. Other than that, it's a graphic novel, and I believe it's got some sort of LGBTQ plus theme in it because I think that it was one I saw mentioned during June, and that's why I ended up getting it at a library, but I'm not positive on that. Either way, I'm looking forward to checking this out and seeing what it's all about. And the middle grade monthly pick is Lockwood & Co. The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. This is the first book in this series. It says, a sinister problem has occurred in London. All nature of ghosts, haunts, spirits, and specters are appearing throughout the city, and they aren't exactly friendly. Only young people have the psychic abilities required to see and eradicate these supernatural foes. Many different psychic investigation agencies have cropped up to handle the dangerous work, and they are in fierce competition for business. In The Screaming Staircase, the plucky and talented Lucy Carlyle teams up with Anthony Lockwood, the charismatic leader of Lockwood & Co., a small agency that runs independent of any adult supervision. After an assignment leads to both a grisly discovery and a disastrous end, Lucy, Anthony, and their sarcastic colleague George are forced to take part in the perilous investigation of Combe Carey Hall, one of the most haunted houses in England. Will Lockwood & Co. survive the hall's legendary screaming staircase and red room to see another day? So this sounds like the kind of book I might read at the end of September to kind of get me ready for October and spooky season. It also sounds like it's got a bit of mystery in it, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. So these are some of the books I hope to read in September. Have you read any of these books? If so, let me know what you thought of them in the comments section below. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a clock emoji, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!